Hello and welcome to the Wrestling Reactions podcast. My name is Tyler Johnson and I'm joined with my co-host Eric Roscoe.
Hi.
How are you doing today, Eric?
I'm doing fine. Let's talk about some Money in the Bank matches and some stuff that happened afterwards.
Yeah, so this is the first episode of the Wrestling Reactions podcast, and we're going to be talking about the first WWE pay-per-view following WrestleMania this year, which is Money in the Bank 2019. And we're also going to be going into a little bit of what happens on Raw and SmackDown following Money in the Bank. So,
Let's get to it.
So the kickoff show starts the Money in the Bank pay-per-view with a lot of talking and a lot of promos. Just constantly the video packages and the promos just don't really stop on the kickoff show.
Yeah, it's the usual stuff. But there was at least one thing that stood out. A couple of people kept calling others Renee. And, well, first, Kevin Owens had a backstage interview with one of the new backstage interview women. I believe her name is Sarah. So Kevin starts off, "Well, Renee." And right before the kickoff show match started, Coach sent it off to Tom Phillips, Byron Saxton, and Renee Young. But Renee wasn't part of the team. That was Corey Graves instead, and he had his own little quip to...
Yeah, it's little unscripted moments that, stand out well above the just the standard run-of-the-mill lines that they're fed to just repeat over and over again. So stupid little things like that are, what make the kickoff show unpredictable.
Yeah. That is how we got Looking Real Jack, baby.
Yes, the famed Booker T to Rowan,
who was also in the kickoff
Great
show.
Segue to the first match of the kickoff, the first and only match of the kickoff show, which is the Usos facing the current SmackDown tag team. Well, the Usos of Raw facing the current SmackDown tag team champions Daniel Bryan and Rowan.
And it was a non-title match, which we didn't realize until the end of the match.
Yeah, judging from how the commentators reacted to the end of the match, I don't think anyone knew, aside from maybe the ring announcer who knew not to congratulate the Usos as being new champions.
Yeah, just saying that they're winners, but and then the commentators kind of shifted gears, saying did they just become the number one contenders to the SmackDown Tag Team Championship?
Yeah, there was kind of shoehorned in there that probably no one is ever going to bring up again. But the match itself, we can talk about that for a second, was really good. I mean, the Usos, Daniel Bryan, Rowan, no one's bad.
Really good competitors.
In that ring.
One of the best tag teams in the world versus one of the best single individual wrestlers in the world, and a big hoss.
Yeah, there was a lot of good spots. There was a lot of just the Usos just high-flying, I thought.
As usual, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, good way to start things off for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, not sure what that means as far as wild card and
no one knows what it means. Wild card's wild.
Yeah, and so then once that match is over and
leading up to the start of the pay-per-view with the end of the kickoff, something interesting happened.
Yeah, they start off, or they end the kickoff show with Naomi's entrance, which is strange because it's the pay-per-view hasn't officially started yet, so she just goes to the ring, then they cut to commercial, they do their whole WWE signature at the beginning of the show, and then she's standing in the ring to no music hits, and she dances around a little bit.
Yeah. Also, she's dressed, I can't talk, she's dressed like a Bumblebee from DC, which was interesting.
Yeah.
You don't normally see people dressed like that, just dressed like a certain character, a different character than what they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Winning the match that they're in, though.
Yeah, it didn't look good for her showing up. We doubted that she was going to win, although I wouldn't be opposed to Naomi winning just because I think she'd make a a glow Money in the Bank.
That would be cool.
A glow in the bank.
I like that.
Like she did with the old SmackDown Women's title when she turned it in a glow.
That was good.
So the match does start. It is Bayley, Nikki Cross, Mandy Rose with Sonya Deville, who it's a key part in the finish of the match.
Yep.
Carmella, Naomi, Natalya, and the standout MVP of the match, although not winner, Dana Brooke.
Oh boy.
We can talk about her.
She had a thing.
her dangle from.
We'll get to it. I mean, saying dangle kind of leads to something else, but whatever. But to start off the match, they had some really good spots using the ladders. Yeah. A lot of creativity.
The sequences that they had were just. It was a very high energy match to start off with. It was a good choice to start off the pay-per-view. It kind of gets you in that, this is a ladder matches can be unpredictable and no disqualification, and they just kept pulling out ladders.
One spot that really stood out to me was with Naomi. She literally ducked between the two ladders coming toward her, doing a split.
Oh yeah.
That was really cool.
And then there was the, I guess would be considered a botch, with Bayley landing on her side of the ladder and cut her open, just on her hip. So she shed a little bit of blood. And
there was also one of the best eclipses by Ember Moon.
Oh yeah, from the Natalya, from the ladder outside into the ring, which was great.
It was incredible.
I completely forgot about that spot. Oh, and I didn't even mention Ember Moon whenever I was going through all of the.
I thought you did, but.
There's a lot of women in that match.
Yeah.
And so then the finish of the match.
Well, first,
there was the Carmella injury.
Yeah, she got hurt in her leg or ankle or something, and apparently Mandy Rose just stopped attacking her after that. It was weird when it first happened.
Yeah, you were kind of like, oh wait, is this real? Is there is she actually injured, or is this part of the?
Is it a work? It's a work.
Yeah.
But yeah, she went into the back thinking, okay, they're going to play it up. And she's gone for several minutes getting that knee taped up. But then...
Pulling a Roman Reigns. Yeah. Showing back up.
Or Lesnar.
Yeah.
But yeah. Then we had... What was after that?
Then it was... I think...
It was Miss Dana Brooke.
Oh, yeah.
She had so much time at the top of the ladder.
Yeah, there was...
I don't know if it was a missed time on the spot or...
But her hand was on it. She was like...
It was ready to just be unlocked and everything. And then I think it was Bayley who went up with her. And Dana just grabbed onto the case, let her legs off the ladder, and just sort of hung on to the briefcase and just... flail around.
I understand, why they have to do that, but it just kind of makes whoever's up there kind of look like a chump, they don't know what they're doing.
It looked bad.
It reflects badly on Ali at the end of the pay-per-view, because he's in a similar situation where he has his hands on it, and it just...
Could say that about any Money in the Bank match, really.
Yeah, that's true, and it...
Like Becky last year.
Yeah, they have their hands on it, and it's just... You kind of, when you're in kayfabe and you're just watching, you're just scrap it, you're a competitor in the match, and then the finish of the match does involve Sonya Deville putting Mandy Rose up.
First of all, Carmella comes back as Mandy and Sonya were getting their stuff ready. Carmella makes us think oh, she's going to pull a back-to-back win.
Yeah.
But then I believe it was Sonya that knocked her out.
Well, her second win, it wouldn't be back-to-back. Alexa Bliss won last year.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I believe Sonya knocked her out, and then a hurt Mandy Rose was put onto the shoulders of Sonya, and she started climbing the ladder as Bayley got to the top as well, knocked them down, and won the match.
Yeah, and then so Bailey is your women's Money in the Bank briefcase holder, and she let everyone know in the audience of Hartford, Connecticut, by giving everyone hugs for like 15 minutes. It was a prolonged celebration, which good for Bailey.
I've been waiting for this for a while because she's been wasted.
Yeah, she has. However, in my opinion, the match really went. It was a great match, great winner, celebration, whatever. And then they get in the ring, and it just kind of sours everything when they give. She gives an in-ring interview, and she's just talking about Sasha Banks. The crowd is not happy.
Yeah,
They're just booing Sasha. And,
it was odd.
and if you don't know, Sasha is kind of on the outs with the company at the moment. And
As far as we know.
yeah, there's just some weird, dirt sheets are reporting on different things, and apparently Sasha's unhappy with the company, and so it could be WWE sending a message to Sasha, being like, "Look, Bailey stayed. She's now the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, potentially a champion."
See what happens.
Who knows by the end of the pay-per-view who's holding that? Who's holding the
We know
championships?
because it's been a few days.
Yeah, but it definitely could be a petty move, being like, "Oh, you left, so we're just giving your ex-tag team partner
Everything.
yeah." But then, moving on from the women's Money in the Bank, it is the Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio for the United States Championship.
With Dominic on the pole match. Second one ever for Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, this match was about a third of the length of Bailey's celebration. The match was short, and Mysterio won with a surprise roll up, I guess, where Samoa Joe's shoulders weren't even on the mat.
Well, his one shoulder was completely up, but he took a shot to the face and a kick to the head, and he was bleeding from 3 places on his face.
Which made him look way more intimidating than he already does.
Yeah, there's a GIF somewhere online that has the perfect shot of him just having a little streak of blood coming out of the nose. And yeah, since he might have, I believe he broke his nose.
Yeah, that's what I read some reports on.
I don't know.
But Mysterio now is your United States champion.
Yeah, they decided to cut the match short because of all that. Didn't want to risk it because of possible concussion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, even though afterward Joe jumped Mysterio and took him out.
Yeah, with he was just beating the crap out of him with Dominic at ringside. Dominic, just standing there watching, not going in to help his dad. I was waiting for a Dominic heel turn. Didn't come. Once Samoa Joe was done beating the holy hell out of Mysterio, he leaves. Dominic goes in, cries with his dad, and that's it for that.
Yeah, there really wasn't too much to it, but I feel like this feud is cursed because there's been 3 matches now, and 2 of them have been ended really short. Yeah,
WrestleMania's match was just
because Mysterio hurt his ankle, and this one just an accident.
It's sad because you have these 2 great professional wrestlers, Samoa Joe and Mysterio.
This might be the last time to ever feud.
Yeah,
last and only time.
They're both legends in their own right, and these types of botches should not be happening with these 2 in the ring.
I wouldn't say they're botches; they're just accidents.
I guess.
Can't really. He accidentally hurt his ankle, and then Joe accidentally got busted out.
And then we continue the Miz Shane McMahon feud, which
it's still going,
which is fine, I guess, considering the end of the WrestleMania match ended in a little bit of some controversy.
Yeah.
So then we have a steel cage match.
Yeah.
Coming up next,
where Miz just wants to beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, it was a very one-sided match pretty much the entire time, with Shane just trying to get away and the Miz just taking control, which is pretty much what we saw in the WrestleMania match too. Was once the Miz had control, it was just Shane trying to escape.
Yeah, even from the ring of the bell, Shane immediately tries to get out of the cage. And there were some close calls there too, where the Miz only got a single pant leg at the last second, and Shane had to have been partially out of the cage at least 8 times before the Miz finally gets a hold of him and brings him back in.
Yeah.
And there was actually a really, really bad spot where there was a rope break, but it's a cage match, and there's no rope breaks in the cage match.
Yeah, and the fans start chanting BS because they know it was messed up, and just a total. There's a lot of ref botches in this. Well,
I think it's by the same ref at least 2 out of the 3 times.
And it's just very confusing, when the refs are...
When you can't follow your own rules, nobody knows what the rules are.
And I think the refs should be one aspect of WWE that always stays kayfabe, because they're the one things in the ring that's, making sure things are correct and how they should be. Leave it to the wrestlers to do their work.
Yeah.
And just... the refs should be responsible for doing their job.
Because they constantly say ref's decision is final.
Yeah.
When you can't rely on the decision being even close to being fair or logical, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I've always heard that, refs are supposed to call every match like a shoot. That's what they're supposed to do, but it seems more and more that they're just being pushed more and being part of the finish, and I don't like that aspect if that's what's happening.
Yeah,
if they're supposed to be doing this, or they're just bad referees.
Let's talk about the finish for this.
Yeah, slippery Shane.
Yeah, Shane goes over the top of the cage, and Miz has him again, and Shane ends up falling out by slipping through his shirt.
Yeah. And it, I don't think that finish was fitting for this match. And I don't think Shane should have won. I think it should have been a pretty definitive Miz win. I think that he really needed this win. And and we just kind of glossed over it, but there was a great spot. It was a superplex from the cage from the Miz to Shane.
That's right.
Which just looked absolutely brutal on Shane's body. I feel like in the 90s and early 2000s, I used to love seeing Shane take these high risk moves, and now I'm just more worried that he's gonna.
What, almost 50?
Yeah, I think he's I don't want to see the man die in ring. As much as I love, high spots and hardcore wrestling, that's I don't want to see this.
I don't want to see a man die.
Yeah, he's 49 years old.
Oh, boy.
So, Shane McMahon wins.
The feud continues.
I guess. I'm not really sure what Shane is up to with the whole Reigns, Elias.
Shane's in the middle of 5 different feuds right now.
And then we go backstage to Triple H and a bunch of officials. Well, Triple H tells the cameraman to get out, because Sami Zayn is dangling upside down. Someone tied him up. You were meant to assume that it is Braun Strowman.
Yeah, earlier in the show, which we failed to mention, Sami Zayn begged Triple H to prevent Strowman from entering the building, not to be here, because he was like, I am in danger. We both know I'm in danger, so he shouldn't be allowed here. And then Triple H was saying he's not allowed here or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, he was on the phone talking with someone at the time.
Yeah, Zayn kept trying to interrupt him, which kind of made the segment, but yeah, this is the aftermath to that.
Yeah, so they just find him, and Triple H pushes the cameraman away,
which reminds me of another segment that we failed to mention, was Strowman actually being at the show and then just barreling through backstage, knocking over a pallet, holding up a guy to the truck, saying, "Where's Sami Zayn?"
Yeah.
So
that whole the Braun Sami stuff is all just happening backstage, and neither one of them do take part in the Money in the Bank match, which first it was Strowman, and then Sami Zayn won with the help of, is it Baron Corbin?
Baron Corbin and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, on an episode of Raw to give Sami Zayn that spot. So now it's very much seeing from backstage that Braun is trying to get his spot back.
Yeah, and after seeing that, Triple H talked to Strowman saying, "You're out of the building."
Yeah, that happened.
He's not in the match.
So it's like they find him hanging up, and then it's the cruiserweight match, and then following the cruiserweight match is when Triple H tells Braun Strowman to leave, and Strowman just does it. He's like, whatever, I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not part of this storyline anyway.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about, but that's fine, I'll leave. I don't have a match.
Yeah.
So it was very...
And you mentioned the Cruiserweight match. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that was Tony Nese versus Arya Daivari.
Our champion, Tony Nese.
Yeah. The premier athlete.
Darn right.
For the 205 Cruiserweight Championship. And... let me just start off by saying that this match got a boring chant, which is unheard of for a pay-per-view cruiserweight match.
I mean, neither guy is really the most flippy lucha type guy anyway. Yeah. So it didn't really play to their strengths, I feel.
You know, I did like Daivari coming out. You know, he got the gold chain, the sunglasses. He comes out in a nice car. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about cars. Was it a Cadillac?
I think it was a Mercedes.
Maybe.
The car doesn't really matter.
It was just a nice car.
But he barely made it out of the curtain that he came through in the car. So it's like, I don't think many people saw it.
Yeah, but it at least from, like, you know, on network, it was very reminiscent of old Alberto Del Rio coming out in like a nice car and like just, you know, he's a foreign heel,
make him seem really unlikable.
Yeah, like he got foreign money. You know, WWE hates foreigners in general. But you know, there isn't much to say about this match. There were
good spots. It just wasn't a great match.
There aren't any spots that even really stand out to me as being like, this is no Buddy Murphy versus anyone.
Yeah.
This isn't,
or even Cedric Alexander.
Yeah, this isn't Mustafa Ali. This is Tony Nese and Arya Daivari, which I guess they're trying to build these guys up, and I get it with, you know, Daivari's brother working production backstage, so there might be a little bit of nepotism involved. Who knows?
I don't know. I feel like if I watched the match again, I would like it. It just didn't feel that good. It felt like one of the ones where you just take a bathroom break.
Yeah, exactly. But Tony Nese does end up retaining his title after a running Nese.
Which is one of the best names.
Yes. And then shows backstage with Braun Strowman, and then we move on to the Raw Women's Championship match.
And this one...
It is between Becky Two Belts, Becky Lynch, who holds the Raw and SmackDown Women's title, going against Lacey Evans.
The sassy Southern Belle.
Yes.
The sassy Southern Belle.
And so this is the first of Becky Lynch's matches of the evening. She's also going to be facing Charlotte, what we assume would be much later in the evening. Turns out it's directly following this match.
And let's talk about the Raw Women's Championship first.
Yeah, I think this is...
It was a decent match.
If it wasn't for there being a Money in the Bank match, 2 Money in the Bank matches, and Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles on this card, this would have been the match of the night for me. I enjoyed every aspect of it. Everything that Lacey Evans does is just so smooth and so crisp. She's just a fantastic worker. Like,
I'm impressed with everything she does, especially her character.
Yeah,
even though it's a bit watered down since she's on the main roster now, it's hands down one of the best women characters, wrestlers, anything that you have on the main roster right now.
Yeah, and you know, Lacey Evans should be your Raw Women's Champion.
Yep, because we got Ref Botch number 2, where
there was Samoa Joe's shoulder not being down, the rope break during the cage match, and this is...
See, I'm already losing track of everything because there's so many ref botches.
Yeah,
but
this is number 3 where
Lacey Evans had Becky, I believe it was just a regular roll-up, and she had her pinned
for like
4 seconds. The same ref from the Miz match didn't do anything.
Just stood there, like, just staring, like, and the commentator tried to play it off, like, oh,
maybe her shoulder's not down. They were both clearly down.
Yeah,
this isn't a Samoa Joe match thing where he's got one where he's completely off the mat.
Yeah.
That was bad.
But, and then Lynch rolls Evans from that pin into a disarmor, and
she immediately taps.
Yeah, there was not even maybe you can view this as Lacey Evans just wanting to, like, not risk her breaking her arm, and she just wanted to get out of that quickly.
She was close to the ropes, too.
Yeah, it just seemed a little odd to have her just give up so fast.
Good match, bad finish.
Yeah, but I'm fine with Lynch, continuing to hold both of these belts for right now, and then
immediately after that,
Charlotte Flair's music hits. And
as soon as Becky is leaving, the music hits, and we get a little sly look from both of them, and Becky gets back in the ring, and we have that match.
Yeah, she's I feel like Becky was pretty apprehensive at first, but she doesn't want to be looked at as a running champion. She wants to be a fighting champion.
Yeah,
so she's like, whatever, I'll
beat you both right now.
Yeah, and
that was a bad accent that I just did.
Yeah. But this match does end in a little bit of a screwy finish because the ref was distracted. Lacey Evans came back down,
hit her with the woman's right.
Yep, and then she turned right into a Charlotte big boot.
Yep.
And that was it. That was the match. Charlotte is your new SmackDown Women's Champion.
Is that 9 times now?
Yeah, that's a 9-time. I think just Women's Champion in general. I think that's including like all of her reigns with Raw title, the SmackDown title, and I think she held the Divas Championship.
Okay.
I do believe she held the Divas Championship, and they're including that in her reigns.
But once that match ended, it started into a little brawl between Becky, Lacey, and Charlotte.
I think the better term would be beatdown, considering that Charlotte just had Evans hold her up against the turnbuckle, and she was just beating her, just kicking her over and over again. I don't understand what these blondes have against Becky Lynch, especially Charlotte. Why did she need to continue beating this? Like, you won the title. I felt that there was no need for Charlotte to do this. Lacey, I understand. She got screwed out of her.
She's a heel.
Yeah, I guess. But then,
we hear the least threatening music ever.
It's Bayley's entrance music,
and is she? Then you think, oh, is she gonna go for a cash in on Becky, get that Raw Women's title? But no, she goes and starts helping Becky with,
because faces help faces. Even though I think right now Bayley's more of a tweener. She's more of like
she's aggressive, Bayley.
Yeah, she's a baby face that's rough around the edges.
She's got a bit of scruff.
Which I do like that aspect of her character. I do like a rough Bayley. She doesn't have to be a 5-year-old all the time.
She's with the kendo match that she had.
Yeah. She's a professional wrestler. She's not a child.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes WWE creative forget that.
But this little brawl ended up leading to a cash-in on Charlotte.
Yeah.
After she was beaten down by Bayley and Becky. And it only took 20 seconds for Bayley to get on the top rope, hit her with the elbow.
The Macho Man homage.
Yeah. And got her with the pin, and we have a new SmackDown Women's champion. Within like 5 minutes, there have been 3 champions.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4 horsewomen.
Is this the hardcore champion of women?
Right. And this is the second year in a row that a women's Money in the Bank
winner
has cashed in
on the same night.
Yeah, later on in the show with Alexa Bliss cashing in on Nia Jax last year. Was it Nia Jax?
Yeah, it was Nia Jax because she was defending it against Ronda.
Yeah, okay.
And then Bayley had another celebration that lasted another 10 minutes.
Did she? I don't even remember her doing that. If you say so.
Maybe you got that mixed up with the Money in the Bank one. Because I know she celebrated for like 10 minutes with the champion.
Okay. Yeah, then she must have celebrated with that and not the Money in the Bank. But Is that where she had the Sasha promo?
No, the Sasha promo was after Money in the Bank, I believe.
It was, okay. There was a lot of Bayley on this show.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to that.
Bayley had 2 matches, technically. Becky Lynch had 2 matches. There's a lot of double matches going
Bayley's
on.
good. And then
we transitioned backstage to Roman Reigns walking with a creepy Elias behind him.
sneaking.
He follows him for a minute.
Yeah. It's slowly getting that guitar up and wham! Breaking that guitar right over Roman's back.
Yep.
Immobilizing him temporarily. And Elias decides to head out to the ring with a new electric guitar.
Yeah.
Actually finishing his set this time too, which is really rare.
Because the scheduled match was Roman Reigns versus Elias. And the storyline going into this was Roman Superman punched Vince McMahon in the face, and Shane didn't like that. So Shane, essentially, Elias is just his lackey.
Well, also, Elias was the greatest acquisition by SmackDown ever.
Oh, yeah, and that was all...
Elias!
And that all happened in that same segment.
Right
Before the punch. The punch heard around the world.
And after Elias was done berating the city of Hartford and the fact that the Whalers left over 20 years ago...
Sports reference.
As Elias was walking out, Roman's music hit. He started beating him down. Roman beat Elias down and threw him back in the ring. I believe he hit him with a spear and pinned him again. Match took 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Roman is your winner.
Yeah, it was just a Superman punch and spear, and after they rang the bell that Roman had won, I didn't even realize that the match had started. I was like, all right, okay. I just thought they were just going to be an in-ring segment and not anything special.
Right.
And next we have a 5-star classic of Seth Rollins.
I wouldn't get a 5-star. It was at least 4.
No.
It was good.
Okay.
It was great.
It
wasn't the greatest of all time according to 2K. That's what 5-star means to them.
No, I think the only people that would not like this match, the Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles for the Universal Championship, is all of the farmers that were, affected by this barn burner of a match. But yeah, this is for the Universal Championship, after Seth Rollins has... finally been the Beast Slayer and beating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania for that title. AJ Styles came over from SmackDown to Raw on the Superstar Shakeup and beat Baron Corbin. Wait, was Baron Corbin that he beat for the number 1 contenders?
I don't know. I'm still stunned on that barn burner joke.
Yeah, because there was AJ Styles did beat Baron Corbin a few weeks leading up to...
it was something like that.
Yeah, to be number 1 contender. And the build to this match was fantastic. All of the, showing classic footage from Seth Rollins when he was Tyler Black in the independent scene, facing much younger AJ Styles.
I love the short hair.
Yeah, I think there was...
Short hair Styles is best Styles.
I think there was a clip they were showing with AJ Styles facing a 19-year-old Seth Rollins, and AJ Styles telling the crowd that Rollins is going to be the future of the business, and now you have both of them, in a one-on-one match for the title. It's
surreal.
Yeah, it's not in the main event of WrestleMania or anything, but it's still, a big money match, and definitely, this is not going to be the last time that these two go one-on-one in WWE.
It's probably the must-see match of the night.
Oh, for sure. It's on par with the men's Money in the Bank. Those two matches, but... The one thing that's great about the Rollins-Styles matches, absolutely no funny business. There was, no interference.
No hits to the nuts like most AJ Styles matches go.
Yeah, there was, a nice handshake at the end of the match. It was a clean finish.
It was a respectful match.
Yeah, it was something...
There was a lot of counters. My God.
It was very heartfelt. It was something that... you don't see too often anymore, especially at pay-per-views, because they're so focused on what's next, they can't sit down and really...
enjoy the moment.
Right. It was very reminiscent of the TLC match between Finn Balor and AJ Styles a few years ago, where it was just straight, just two great performers out there doing what they do best. Not there was no storyline involved when they were in the ring, and just
Now that one was a barn burner.
and we can talk about all of the spots in this Styles Rollins match.
The only one that really stood out to me was the stomp turning into the Styles Clash, which just didn't seem possible.
Right.
But they pulled it off immaculately.
And as much as I do love that spot, I was kind of disappointed to see a kick out of the Styles Clash.
Yeah.
I think that move is one that should be kept, pretty sacred. And but if anyone could kick out of it, it is the Universal Champion.
You gotta have like one of your top stars do that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't think. Well, about that spot, Rollins barely got his arm around Styles' leg just in time for it too. So that could have ended pretty badly if it went even slightly wrong.
Those there's been many Styles Clash botches, and they're just nauseating to watch. They're just people's head. There's one with James Ellsworth from a couple of years ago, and it's
That's how we lost his chin.
it was just a brutal one, and there was some from TNA. But yeah, and they shook in the ring, and that was it.
Seth retained.
Yeah, he
got him with a kick to the gut, and then got him with the curb stomp.
Yeah, and there was a frog splash in there somewhere, which is beautiful.
I think it was before the kicks.
And then we move on next to Kofi Kingston, the WWE champion. Or no, actually before that, the Lucha House Party's music hits.
They advertised it as a 6-man tag match. So while the Lucha House Party were coming up, when we were watching it, we were wondering who's left? Who can possibly go against these guys?
Yeah, we thought it was going to be some mixture of like Bobby Lashley or...
I was thinking something along the lines of the Raw Tag Team Champions and someone else.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
And it has become my least favorite entrance music is Lars Sullivan's like...
The little piano thing.
Yeah, mostly just because it signals Lars Sullivan coming out.
Yeah, I want him off my TV.
So yeah, he comes out, he tosses around 3 minorities, which is something that Lars Sullivan is probably really good at, putting down people of color.
Lars Sullivan's a trash human being.
But Lars Sullivan,
there was no 6-man tag match. I would rather have the 6-man tag match.
Yeah, there was no scheduled match. There was just, however, as much as I dislike Lars Sullivan as a person, as a character, he did look very intimidating when he had a streak of blood coming down from his head. I don't even know when that happened exactly, but and it's kind of sad seeing him beat up. The Lucha House Party, specifically because of Kalisto speaking out against some of Lars Sullivan's past statements, but
it's not a good situation at all.
Yeah, so let's just move on from that. Lars Sullivan stands tall, and he'll continue to do that, and
to make us disappointed.
Then we come on with the Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens WWE Championship match. This match came about when Kevin Owens was an honorary member of the New Day.
He was Big O.
Yeah, with Big E out injured, Kevin Owens filled those shoes and was hilarious. And then he turned back heel. He wasn't face for very long.
It was originally due to Daniel Bryan not being cleared yet, even though he was cleared a week later.
Mm-hmm. And so,
which kind of disappoints me.
Yeah, but it was a fine match.
Yeah.
It was definitely not one that anyone's talking about the next day, but Kofi Kingston retained after a Trouble in Paradise, which is fine.
There were a ton of counters in this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, I don't think Kevin Owens got a single finishing move on Kingston in this match.
It definitely felt like a filler match, or just a...
Well, not a filler match. I feel like it was just... It's hard to describe this one. It was good. It just didn't feel like anything was going to change.
Yeah. But, Kofi Kingston is still your champion. Probably will be for a very long time. Don't know what is next, where Kevin Owens can really go from here. I feel like he's kind of just,
Well, since he's not going to Saudi Arabia, he's probably going to be
yeah.
treading water for a little bit.
Which, props to him for standing by Sami Zayn, who Sami Zayn is not allowed to go to Super Showdown because it takes place in Saudi Arabia, and Sami Zayn is Muslim.
Well, no, he's of Syrian descent. He's also Canadian. And then
I thought it had to do with the Muslim.
He's the wrong kind of Muslim, apparently. But
okay.
That's a whole other issue.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on. Saudi Arabia, not even getting into that right now, but...
It's a bag of worms you don't want open.
And then we come to the main event of the evening, which is the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, featuring Baron Corbin, Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor, Ricochet, Andrade, Ali, Drew McIntyre, and Randy Orton. And so it was originally scheduled to be an 8-man, now down to 7 because Sami Zayn is said to be sent to a local medical facility.
And they actually said hospital after.
Did they say hospital?
Yeah.
Okay, so he is sent to a hospital, and Braun Strowman had agreed to leave the building.
Right.
So there is that empty slot.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to that in the finish. Let's talk about the match itself. There were too many spots to talk about, but we can. There's one where Finn Balor gets power bombed through into the ladder by Andrade, and it just looks really beautiful, really painful on Finn. Mostly because of the bounce back that he does, where he slams into it, then bounces in the air, and then hits it again on his way back down.
My back hurt just watching it.
Yeah, he took a lot to his back.
He took at least 4 different hits to the back on ladders alone.
Yeah.
It was bad. Oh.
I believe that Ali or Drew McIntyre or even Andrade should have won this match. I think that the Money in the Bank could have done a lot for them. We learned that none of them won.
Before that, though, I wanted to point out that pretty much from the start, Randy Orton did one of my favorite things in the match, and that was throw pretty much everyone in the match onto an announcer's table in the same way that he did to the Singh brothers of old. And then just casually tossing them onto there like they're nothing.
Which is smart in the sense of the match where you need to get everyone away from that ring.
Yeah.
You don't want them anywhere near. So it was it was well scouted by Randy Orton. It was very well scouted, which they said well scouted so many times in this pay-per-view.
They say it every pay-per-view.
That's right.
Man.
They don't have too many things they got to say.
That just reminded me that Ali went through the Spanish announce table, and was it Ricochet that went through the ladder, or was it someone else?
I do believe it was Ricochet.
It would have been McIntyre that went through the ladder.
No, but they broke the ladder in half, and then it sprung back to.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Yeah, there was just a lot. Just definitely watch this match if you haven't. This is I'd say one of the best Money in the Bank matches we've seen in a long time.
I would disagree.
Really?
Due to the ending.
Okay, yeah. So we are very split on the ending of this match.
Spoilers, by the way.
Brock Lesnar.
I mean, spoilers for the whole thing. I don't know why I'm saying that now.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar's music hits.
As Ali has the briefcase in his hands, about to take it off the hook.
And Ali just stares at
Lesnar in shock
as everyone is just kind of in shock. They don't know what's going on. Is this going to be... I was expecting it to be similar to Hell in a Cell, where Lesnar shows up, just destroys everyone and leaves. I thought that was going to be it, but no. He comes down with Paul Heyman, of course, ascends the ladder very quickly, and
he won.
Yeah, he is Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar is your Money in the Bank winner.
Yes, and
I hate it.
And the commentary team do go on to say that he has been made Sammy's replacement, which is news to everyone, but logically does make a little bit of sense, because Strowman had said that he didn't know what was going on backstage, and so apparently it was Brock Lesnar who had been on the phone, or it was possibly Paul Heyman on the phone with Triple H in the back. Lesnar shows
really
up, attacks Sami Zayn, and there's definitely some talk of how that happened. But I do not believe this is a bad thing for the WWE in general. One, Lesnar's a huge draw, no matter what he does. He needs something. He is, a powerhouse by himself, but I think giving him something that's not a title, like the Money in the Bank, where he, can do what he does best, is show up whenever he wants, when no one is expecting him, which is kind of what the Money in the Bank briefcase represents. People who can just show up whenever. And I just think that having, this fear of someone cashing in, it's like, that's scary enough for a champion.
And the fear of Brock Lesnar
But
in general.
having it be Brock Lesnar is just, there's honestly not much you can do to hold on to your title whenever Lesnar's walking around with the Money in the Bank briefcase. And this is something that he has never held.
True.
Do I, understand your argument about...
My argument is that it takes away any potential new stars being made,
Yes.
or even elevating current stars to another level. Guys like Drew McIntyre have been sitting kind of in the mid card for a while now, only getting a one Raw Tag Team Championship with Ziggler a year ago.
I forgot that even.
And now he's been just treading water with guys like Lashley and Corbin, and you see how much potential guys like McIntyre have, and you want him to have something to give him that extra push. But having it with guys like Lesnar, it's more of the same old thing, really.
Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I just think that, I like to just, let WWE kind of do their thing. Like, what if they have a good story coming up, if they know what they're moving on forward from here, I'll see where it goes for sure. If it turns out that this was a horrible decision down the road, I'll admit being wrong, and this was a horrible decision to put the Money in the Bank into Brock's hands.
And if it turns out being one of the best things they've ever done, I'll admit I was wrong as well. But I stand by my point right now. It's going to be tough, because if you keep taking away these chances for the younger talent, you're going to have to keep relying on the part-timers like Brock, and you just hurt yourselves in the long run. So that was our overall review of Money in the Bank 2019, and now we're going to give our overall ratings of it. I'd say on a 1 to 5 scale, I'd give it a 3, due to it not giving too much in the way of... There weren't too many huge moments compared to other pay-per-views aside from the Lesnar thing, but yeah, it's not one that I would go out of my way to watch again unless I'm going through all of the Money in the Bank pay-per-views. How about you, Tyler?
I would rate it a little bit higher. I enjoyed a lot of the matches a lot, like the Lacey Evans versus Becky, Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles, both women's Money in the Bank. There were some negatives, and it wasn't perfect, but it's hard to find a perfect WWE pay-per-view.
WrestleMania 35 for me.
Yeah, that was a good one, but I do think this is good. I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's better than the majority of current WWE pay-per-views. It's not a WrestleMania or a Rumble.
It's not a stomping grounds.
See, it's definitely better than what I assume Stomping Ground will be, or whatever future Saudi Arabia show. So I think that we should give WWE props when they've put on a show that we can end, and I felt satisfied. I know
where you feel sports entertained.
Yeah, I did definitely felt sports entertained. At the time of recording this, Raw and SmackDown have aired. So there have been a lot of fallout coming from Money in the Bank leading into next week of WWE television, starting with Monday Night Raw, which does introduce a new championship belt as they were teasing at Money in the Bank.
Yeah, it was introduced by Mick Foley, which everyone thought, oh, they're going to bring back the Hardcore Championship. This is going to be amazing. And then throughout the entire show, you're like, okay, this is it. And when he gets there, he makes this little speech about wanting to get Raw, more Raw, and without even saying hardcore, which is like, okay, is it going to be still called that? Because we're expecting the Hardcore Championship. But when he reveals it, it's probably the ugliest thing I've ever seen in terms of title belts. And it's not even called the Hardcore title. It's the 24/7 Championship. And it's got the gimmick of Crash Holly's great 24/7 title defense.
Yeah, it does hold the same premise as the original Hardcore title. The Hardcore 24/7 one. It has pretty much the same rules, and there is a silver lining to this belt. Even if you're really against it, at least Mick Foley does advertise that it can be between Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, and most importantly, NXT and NXT UK, which could potentially build up a huge potential future mid-carder in the WWE.
It at least gets all the people in the lower card on TV as well. And it can even... Well, it already has had some use of it on social media, which I think is perfect for this. It's basically the social media championship in a way. And I love the concept. I hate the design of it, but that's like the only negative thing I have about it. This is what I wanted for a while. I like this a lot.
Yeah, that was probably I'd say the main highlight of Monday Night Raw, aside from Lesnar using the Money in the Bank briefcase like a
boombox,
like an early '90s boombox up on his shoulder, which has made for some great gifs
and some videos as well, putting in their own little music.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I wanted to talk about some of the 24/7 Championship again.
Oh yeah,
the match to crown the inaugural champion was Mick Foley saying, I'm going to put this here in the center of the ring, and the first person to grab it is the champion. And you just have a scramble of a
literal scramble
of 10 lower to mid-carder people running to the ring. Nobody's going into the ring. They're all fighting outside of it. The closest guy is probably Mojo Rawley for 5 times, and he just decides to let it go.
So if I'm remembering correctly, we got Mojo Rawley, No Way Jose, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, Drake Maverick,
Titus O'Neil, who ended up being the inaugural champion.
Yes. Robert Roode was not part of the initial scramble.
But here's the thing. Titus lost the title on the way up the ramp to Robert Roode.
And I think it was 20 seconds?
It was about 20 seconds. Let's see.
I believe that is
It was 24 seconds.
24 seconds, okay. I knew it was in that spectrum. There was something that happened that I want to talk about following this that irked me a lot. It was still part of the third hour of Raw.
Mm-hmm.
But it was... Robert Roode had the title, and he was running around with it, trying to hide from the mob of, people, because it's, as long as there's a ref nearby, you can potentially win, is he ran past, I believe it was Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin, and he had the title, and they just couldn't care less. And I feel like that really, really damages the title when you have these two main event guys just not care about a belt. I feel like everyone on the roster should be going for this title. It should have the same prestige as the Intercontinental or the United States. Granted, not the world title, but still, people like Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin should be going after this to give it some relevancy rather than just being like, oh, look at these children running around for this toy.
Well, I feel like they did that eventually at the end of the show when R-Truth tricked Robert Roode into
But as much
hiding and then pinning him.
as much as I love R-Truth, he is still a comedy act.
Oh, he's one of the best comedy acts, though.
He is.
And he became the oldest winner of the 24/7 championship.
Oh, he's older than Titus O'Neil?
He's 47 years old.
Are you just reading the stats from the belt? Like,
oh, yeah. Robert Roode became the youngest winner. He's
that's sad when he's the youngest winner of that
at 42 years young. But yeah, we know who's going to be involved in this championship.
Yeah,
it's not going to be totally like the Hardcore Championship where you got guys like Kane and the Big Show also getting it. I think the Undertaker had once, but it's due for some fun. It brings some life to the show.
Yeah,
it's all around enjoyable. And as of right now, R-Truth has had it for 3+ days, and
so far, and no house shows or anything. Cause
no,
that was a big thing with the Hardcore title, that it changed hands a lot at house shows, and it'd be exciting to see if they do that, have that same approach with the 24/7 belt.
And are we going to talk about more on Raw or no?
Is there anything particular that happened on Raw that you want to bring up?
Nothing special.
Yeah, there was nothing really that stood out.
The Revival and the Usos had their first ever match against each other, but it was a win by the Revival with a quick pin.
Yeah, I enjoyed that match thoroughly. I do think they wasted on putting it on a random episode of Raw with no build aside from the nut itching.
And the Usi Hot and the shaving the back.
Oh, okay. Usi Hot, that's it.
Yeah, it's quite possibly the worst feud going on right now, and it's
involving two of the best tag teams in the company right now.
In the world.
In the world right now, yeah. And
so we can just move on to SmackDown.
Yeah, which featured R-Truth in a wig.
Yeah, he was running away from some other lower card people. I believe the B team and some other people were there, and ended up getting Carmella, giving Carmella a piggyback ride because she was having a match or something. I can't remember. And they were just running around backstage, and R-Truth successfully defended his 24/7 championship for another day. And
I do wonder with that belt if they're going to have sanctioned matches with it.
I feel like there's going to be at least a few.
Or
but it's going to be all screwy finishes.
Right. I definitely can see that. I could see there being a sanctioned match and then random people running in and turning into just like a multi-man match.
Oh, yeah. Just like always.
Which is, that is the benefit of the belt, is that you can have these types of matches and these types of finishes that otherwise would be, you would not want to ruin the Universal title just throwing it around.
I mean, it's already kind of ruined, but that's another story. But I could see them doing what they did before with having time limit matches and having it, whoever's champion at the end of this is
right. I could definitely see them do that.
Championship until, say, the end of the pay-per-view. Then the 24/7 starts again. So, or even something similar to that, where it's once the match is over, none of those guys can get it, but someone just sneaks up behind them, smacks them on the head, pins them. They're the new champion after that. So there's plenty of ways to do it. I look forward to seeing what they're going to do with it. As for other things on SmackDown, a certain return.
Yeah, it was Dolph Ziggler returns, and he is now the number one contender. You're going to be facing Kofi Kingston at Super Showdown in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
So progressive.
But yeah, I believe that is going to be it for today's episode.
Well, I did want to say one thing. Ziggler had one heck of a promo.
Yeah, that stand-up comedy has really helped his stage.
I mean, he's always had great promos, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of them are quite similar to each other, but the fact that he felt like it sounded like he was about to cry the entire time really just made it feel real.
Right.
And
I think if there's one thing on SmackDown to go back and watch if you have not seen SmackDown, it is...
that promo.
Yeah, for sure.
Also the R-Truth thing, but...
And anything else noteworthy that you want to talk about on either Raw or SmackDown?
Nope. That's about it.
All right. So yeah, that was our show, and
That was the first ever episode of the Wrestling Reactions podcast.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening so much. This is future episodes will be the entire episodes will be uploaded to YouTube, and they will be available whatever service you get your podcasts from. You can follow us on Twitter at Wrestling React. That's wrestling and then react with a W. And you can subscribe to us on YouTube to make sure you catch future episodes at a YouTube channel is just Wrestling Reactions podcast. And you can like us on Facebook, all that kind of stuff.
If you want.
If you want, of course. All that good stuff will be in the description.
Just keep up to date with what we're doing, what episodes are out, things like that.
Yeah, and we're going to try to be consistent with recording and putting out future podcasts.
Yeah, if it's not weekly, it's going to be at least every pay-per-view.
Yeah, for sure.
So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Well, sort of. We won't see you. You won't see us. You'll hear us. Bye.